Welcome to the Out on a Limb podcast. We are all interconnected to a greater web of consciousness. Our aim is to open your mind to a new world through having open-minded discussions about what we perceive our reality to be.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Out on a Limb podcast with your hosts Samantha and Allison and Will, where 2025 is coming in hot, particularly January.
Yep.
We're probably going to post this in February, but we're going to talk about what happened in January because January was an ass kicker, I think. I don't know about you guys.
What do you call that when you do a postmortem? We're going to do a postmortem for January.
We're going to dissect January.
Or those in the military, a hot wash. There's all kinds. Yeah, it's what we do after we're done.
Well,
but there were a lot of astrological things going on, and I'm not an astrologer. I'm not good at that, but I do know what people were saying is that the outer planets like Pluto and Uranus and all of those have been shifting and moving after 16, 20 years, whatever it is. And when that happens, big stuff happens.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, I'm feeling it. I'm seeing it out there. I had my hair done today and I asked the hairdresser. She said she didn't notice anything other than people complaining a lot about the weather. I said, well, maybe you guys already went through it at the end of 2024, but for me, this past week particularly, and this would have been
The last
week of January.
Yep.
Was insane at my job.
wow.
Insane for us personally. We had the flu. Both of us had the flu, and we still have a lingering cough.
They didn't tell me that before I came up here.
Oh,
we're
non-infectious.
Pretty sure we're not contagious anymore. No. But with
I'm not
that,
available for it anyway. So
there you go. Exactly. There you go. Perfect.
But with that came this kind of unmotivated lethargic funk. When we were sick, we couldn't get off the couch. I mean, the hallmark was exhaustion, sleeping, all of that normal flu stuff. But after that, it's just like hard to get going, hard to get motivated, feeling stagnant. Are you guys feeling stagnant? Like you're hitting a wall, you're bored, the things that you've been doing are not nourishing.
But oddly enough, I think we came into 2025 in January, the first part of January, or maybe it was the very last part of December, motivated as hell.
Yeah.
Excited for the year.
Right. I was ready to go, hit the ground running, and it was like I ran 1,000 miles an hour into a brick wall. And I'm like, oh.
I think that we came in going, okay, so much is going to get revealed this year.
And it has
well,
been.
we expected it to be in the first week, but I think that we're so I think that we were hoping it was going to happen in the first week. And I think in general, the collective is exhausted from the freaking drones and getting no answer on those. That is a capital T truth. You know, there might be little T truths. Right. There might be, like placating truths, but we still don't really know what's going on with that. Right. So we have that, and whether they're orbs or whether they're, and it's not just happening in New Jersey, it's happening here, and now it's happening here, and now it's happening. And it's like, okay, what other weird thing's going to happen?
Well, and then the fires. Well, the fires, huge thing. But then the bomb in front of Vegas that happened, right at the end of 2024, which never really got explained in the vehicle in front of Trump Tower. And then what was the other one? There was another one. Oh, New Orleans.
Yeah.
So just all of these things back to back. And before you can even digest, there's another thing.
Yeah, and that's when the fires happened. Like, and then to be learning about the kind of idiocy behind the fires, about there not being water, that the firemen were cut, their funding had been cut back right before one of the most important times of the season. Right. And so we're all sitting here, and then just got to mention this, and then we're all going, but what about the people in Western North Carolina? And there's a blizzard coming, and they're intense. Yeah. So we're seeing this, and it's like, and people, across social media just going, okay, wait, I'm just still trying to recover from this. And the memes have been hysterical.
Oh, yeah.
Because, they reflect the exhaustion, the bewilderment, what the hell?
We cannot catch our breath is really what it's about. Mm-hmm. And even though these things don't affect us directly per se, and the collective always tells us, stay in your lane, don't be distracted and that kind of thing. But
you're still going to feel
when it's coming into your awareness, it's still a thing, and you have to kind of
process
process this and set it aside or whatever. And we never really get answers, or you don't have time to even grieve or to think about it before the next thing hits you.
Well, and then you had Stephen Greer, who said, we're going to disclose all this stuff, and whether he was going to disclose it, and whether, whether our president was going to actually,
allow it out and
step into office, and what was going to happen before then, and what was going to happen after. Like, grab the popcorn, just sit back and spike your Coke, and and just like it's just craziness.
Yeah.
Can anyone relate? I just want to know.
Right.
Oh, and then the concept of whether January went slow or fast for you.
True. Yeah.
And in spite of that, it did seem to go fast. I can't believe we're already in February.
Yeah.
But it seemed like a lot happened.
It seemed like there was a bucket load of stuff that January 1st happened, and everything got dumped out, and you're like, oh, and it felt like it was extended. But like you say, today is February 1st, and it's like, wait, where did January go? So it is kind of an odd time jump, I guess you could say, because you look back at January, and there was a shit ton of stuff that happened, but that was it's already gone. So now we're in February, and what do we got to look forward to? So it's like,
well, and I'm kind of sitting there doing the same, like all of that happened. Here's February 1st. What is this month going to bring?
Right.
And it's weird because I don't feel like it's a continuation of last month.
no, it's a different month. It feels
It's
completely
like a
different.
new energy.
Right.
It's like, okay, now we're going into another level. Here's another level of the game. Get ready, because now we've got these ogres that will like spew vomit on you.
Right.
Who knows?
We slayed the boss for January. Now we're into the next level. Now we got to conquer the boss on the next level.
It's not like we resolved everything. We just killed enough of the whatevers
to get to the next level.
Yeah. So there's still that has to get sorted out. It's just we don't have time to look back.
We got to keep moving forward.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's the only way I know to describe it, because it's I'm okay. So what I find that I'm challenged with is, we started feeling this separation in 2020, and where we were seeing the world in two different lights, and it's continued, and I've kind of been able to weather through a lot of it. And now it's starting to get more personal in my home life.
Yes.
And I thought, I lost some friends along the way. They weren't happy that I wasn't seeing the world the way that they were seeing the world and stuff. And I feel like I am entertaining everyone's perception, as valid and theirs, and they have the right to it. And so, and it makes me go, that's interesting. I hadn't considered that. So I enjoy seeing the different perceptions, but now it's gotten very personal, and I'm just going to say this. And if my daughter's on, I don't know, she doesn't watch it, but now it's become between my daughter and myself.
Yeah.
It's same issues. These were the same issues back in 2016. It's been the same issues going all the way through. And yet now she's very agitated that I am not. It's like she wants me to pick up arms and go march or something. And I keep trying to explain, unless that is your desire, that nudge, that whatever, that's not what you came here to do. That's not what I came here to do.
Right.
And so it's not in my purview. I don't know those people. I wouldn't. That's not how I would express things.
Right.
So I'm sitting here going, I don't know what to do, but I'm expressing that I'm sorry that she's perceiving the world this way.
Yeah.
And that's kind of not enough.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to say, with me, I kind of have already gone through the experience of losing the intimate nature of a relationship with my mother through this divisive, separation.
Yep.
And I don't want that to happen with my daughter. And I'm just having to go, this is her journey. She needs to go through it. And I need to continue forward on what my path is. And just,
it's about this eternal struggle to walk the fine line, the balance between being compassionate and there for those people, whether they're friends, colleagues, or family members, and not getting sucked into that drama or that situation. Like if it's their thing to fix or heal, they want misery loves company. They want help. They want to suck you in and get you involved in the wheel spinning, essentially, because it's not productive. But you have to keep saying, look, I love you and I will support you, but this is your thing. This is your thing to heal. This is your shadow. This is your whatever it is. And, on some level, we have to go it alone. Sometimes we just have to nobody can heal for us. They can hold our hand and help us through the process, but they can't heal for us. So if they keep trying to bring you into that drama because they don't want to heal it, they just want to fight about it or talk about it or whatever, or complain about it, we have to lovingly separate ourselves, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's a real tough one, especially when you think like, it's not that I don't have any shadow work left to work on or anything like that. But I'm doing pretty good right now. And then this kind of sucker punched me out of the blue. And I just thought, I don't want to lose anyone else. I mean, I have really banded people close to me. And now I'm realizing, I never lose them. They'll always be, it's an aspect of me. It's we're all just an aspect of each other. Yeah. We'll get to the other side and go, wow, that was a shit show. How did you manage,
We're
And
going to high five each other.
Yeah. But this experience is meant to really pull at our heartstrings.
Yeah.
It's really meant for us to say, how much are you willing to stay on your path? How much are you willing to not get distracted? How much are you willing to, in my case, it's like that, holding the light for others, giving them the space to go through their changes without being overbearing.
Yeah, I mean, we just wrapped up, and you guys have probably already seen it because this will air right after it, is our February card readings. And what comes to mind is that authentic self, right? It's standing in that authentic self. And that's what you're doing, is you're standing in your authentic self, though it doesn't marry or play with your daughter's authentic self at the moment. So, can you find room to sway from it or not? Or how strong are you, how steadfast are you in your authentic self? So, and I think that's what really over the last, 4 years has really done for a lot of people, is it's shown the true essence of their authentic self and how strong that authentic self is, or how weak that authentic self is. And I think, you have your note on here about tough energy. And I think that's really what January really kind of was the catalyst for all of that, is throwing it kind of all out at once. Like I said, a whole bucket full of shit that just got dumped out on everything. And it's making us reflect upon ourselves, where we stand. What truth are we really adhering to? What truth are we really standing for? What truth do we hold for ourselves? And it is only for ourselves. We can't live by somebody else's truth. It's not. And I know that can be taken in a bunch of different ways, and I'll let the audience work on that for themselves. What I'm saying is, it's truly, when you look at yourself in the mirror, what authentic piece of you is standing there, and how strong is it in your truth that no matter what comes up against it, no matter how tough the energies are, you continue forward with that authentic presence, because that in itself is going to change more of the world than swinging back and forth and going, what do I do here, or what do I do there, or well, it's my daughter, so I have to do that. It's my mother, I have to. It's my son, I have to. It's my.
I fought too hard to get to where I am now.
Yeah.
And it's simply, there is no going back. When you get to this point of, it's like I would have to be living a lie.
Yeah.
In order to be any different, because you clear away so much of the crap, and it doesn't mean it doesn't affect you or hurt you or whatever, but once you clear that away, I don't know what has to happen in your life that would dive bomb you back into putting your head in the sand.
Back to the Stone Age, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be something really, I cannot even imagine, but I just keep looking at it like, I've worked too hard to have this sense of awareness, to feel energy, to be able to divine pathways forward for people, to get into that field of probabilities, all that kind of stuff that I don't know. It's wow.
I think with
Yeah.
family though,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
family, that's where it's the toughest because we don't, with friends, sometimes we can allow them to drift away if our truths are not resonating or whatever. And it's sad, but we get over it a little easier than when we sever ties with a family member, even knowing we never really sever ties because
Right.
energetically we're connected always. But it is difficult to stand that ground compassionately for self as for the other person. And so you're not treating yourself with compassion if you're jumping in to everybody else's story and muddling around in there at your own expense. And so even if our family members have to say, break
Need some
ties with
space
us
for
for
a
a
while.
while,
Yeah.
a lot of times they will understand and come back.
I mean, even to the extent our son has differing beliefs than we do, and we've, I won't say we completely struggle with it, but there are those moments that it's like, wait a minute, where are you going with this? But at the end of the day, it's like, there's nothing I'm going to say that I'm going to change your outlook on how
Nor
you.
should we be.
Right, and
changing his outlook.
right.
Yeah.
I can lend my voice to say, here's how I understand it. Here's how I look at it. Here's my perspective. It's not going to align with you. And same thing, when you tell me something, it's not going to align with me, but hey, I love you. You're my son, and I'm going to do
Exactly.
everything for you. It's just we can't come to a common understanding on this, so.
And we've talked about this on this podcast before about authentic relationships and how it has to work both ways. So like you were expressing earlier, you're pretty good at listening to other people's authentic stories and their perspective and going, okay, I get it. Maybe that's not how I believe, but I get you and you're good and we're fine.
Yeah.
A lot of other people are not there yet,
It's because
including family members.
it's an uncomfortable place.
So when we stand in our truth or we express ourselves, they're not okay with it. And a lot of people are wanting to sever ties. They're cutting off family relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy out there. They're just cutting people off because of this belief or that belief.
I just find other people that I can express and talk to about it, and so that I can have that bandwidth with my family to be open and stuff. But it's, yeah, I don't know that I want to go into that. It's very,
Yeah,
very
no.
fascinating to work through these things.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times when, this last time that we haven't talked for several weeks. It's been very,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the thing is, I'm energetic. I got spidey senses. I know something's off. Like it's just ringing bells, But the last time that we talked, I felt so bad because she wanted so badly for me to go, yeah, this sucks and this isn't right and this isn't fair and and say all that. And she was just like, Mom, you're in this airy fairy space of everything will work out and it's fine. And and I was sharing that with Diana on the way up, my friend Diana, and she said, sometimes we forget that they are adults in their own rights now, and this is their time for them to have their shadow work, their struggles.
Yes,
And I'm like,
exactly.
where the hell? I have to say, Diana has come a long way. Like with
Yeah,
all of
yeah,
it,
yeah.
like blows my freaking mind.
Right.
And so she's now spouting this counsel
Right.
back to me that I would be saying to her, and it soothed me. Because yes, duh, of course.
Compassionate separation to let them go through what they need to go through and learn what
But
they need
as
to
a
learn.
parent, it's like when you see that, you're like, no, I know how to fix this, right? I know what I need to do.
I just want you to feel at ease. I don't want you to. It pains me all the anxiety that everyone's feeling.
Yeah,
And the thing
yeah.
is that
Yeah.
I think I'm coming more into an understanding with is, okay, I never understood really what anxiety felt like. And when I started to feel it about 2 years ago, I actually went to the doctor because I thought I just got to rule out something's,
Sure.
because I was doing this kind of breathing. And
Yeah.
now I've come to learn, okay, I'm picking up on the collective anxiety. How many of these kids, like they're getting ramped into these
Yeah.
anxiety feelings. Plus, they came into this world more
sensitive.
wide open.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they've not been taught. We haven't taught them. I've tried to teach mine, to be aware of what's yours and what's not.
Right.
And so their guards, are down and they're feeling all of this. So I want to help her with that. And I can't.
And when
It's not my place.
and two, significant difference between, our generation and the younger generation. It makes me feel like I'm that old, but I'm
You
really
are that
not.
old.
But anyway,
We are that old.
You're entering the wise elder
we
generation.
right. Thank you. Do I need to start wearing a cloak and fancy hat? But so when we were growing up, we weren't inundated 24/7 with everybody else's problems on a screen.
Right. There was no internet.
So we didn't know what anxiety was.
Yeah.
We knew what stress was, but we didn't know what anxiety was, right? We didn't.
We knew our anxiety.
Right,
If
well,
we
yeah.
were anxious about going to school, but we didn't.
Or like we're waiting for something, waiting for a flight or whatever. You get anxious. But now it's like everything is designed to be a fear factor
To purposefully.
to purposefully give you anxieties to make you do something.
Yep.
And so
To corral you to go
Yes.
this way
Control.
or that way, buy
Yep.
this.
and they're
do that.
right, and it's not just one avenue to go this way. It's fractalized into 1,000 different little lanes that you can possibly pick from. Now you've got anxiety of which one to pick from. So it's just compounding actions of this screen time. And again, I'm guilty of it myself, but I also understand where I need to put my attention. So I
Yeah.
know that
Because
not
you're
to,
a wise elder.
well, thank you. And right, but the younger generation, this is what they've grown up on, and they haven't learned full discernment of their gifts or their strengths or even themselves. So to your
Yeah.
point, they're finding themselves, and it is hard to give distance for them to find themselves, to go through those dark moments or that dark night of the soul or whatever it might be that gets them over that hurdle, and these things might be the catalyst to do so. So there's this weird place, and it is almost kind of scary, because the younger generation doesn't know I hate to use the word truth, but doesn't really know what's in front of them, right? They don't know what they're watching, whether it is truth or not. They don't know what they're listening to is truth or not. They don't know, a baseline of reality.
Well, they don't know if someone's just feeding them this stuff to get more likes. Like I
Right.
see so many people say, my videos are getting banned. Oh, that means I need to watch this person because their videos are getting
Right.
banned. And then
Right.
they say, so I need everyone to like this, listen up, share, because it
Yes.
might leave
Yeah,
TikTok.
yeah.
That right there. Okay, I came across something. It came up in my feed mysteriously on YouTube, and I was like, I wasn't asking for this, but I think that it should be broadcast to everyone. And it was this guy who worked for the military and did some kind of he was talking about how you know that PSYOPs is
Oh,
working
yeah.
on
He
you.
was actually on PBD,
PBD.
Patrick Bet-David's podcast.
She's in the know.
I like
so-
PBD.
Oh, okay.
And
Watch PBD.
He was a military PSYOPs professional.
His
fantastic.
stuff was so good because it's kind of like
How to recognize PSYOPs.
Yep. When if somebody is baiting you, if somebody's getting you emotionally involved, if somebody's telling you you must do this now.
You got to take action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was everyone should have that in front of them and listen, but it's almost like they would people are comfortable. They're almost not comfortable if everything's quiet and easy
Right.
going.
People like drama.
Yeah, drama's far more interesting. Like, what
Right.
are you going to talk about if you don't have drama?
Well, that's why you watch a race car. You're not watching the race
You're
to
waiting
watch them to
for-
go around in circles. You're waiting
Yeah.
for the crash to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. That's a good point. So,
that's the algorithm.
We did a
So-
channeling yesterday,
Okay.
and I did ask the collective about this energy. I said, what's going on particularly with this past week, that last week of January, because it's been just craziness and stressful and hard. I said, is there something astrologically, or is it the energy? Like, what is it? Is there a reason? And I want to tell you what they said, because they mentioned this grand awareness point that we are coming up against.
Wow, you got a lot highlighted there.
We're coming into a grand awareness point in the next several months.
You mean it's not just here yet?
Right.
I mean, there's more to build up to?
They did describe it as, and maybe you guys have felt this, a feeling, an anticipatory feeling that something's going to take place.
Yes.
Some of you may be feeling that, right? They said, yes, something is going to take place. And that something is going to be slightly different for everyone. There's going to be an awareness point that settles in, an awareness point that overwhelms the system being all of humanity.
Not our personal systems, but...
Well, probably each of us individually as well as a group.
Okay.
There are different vibrational forms that are entering into humans' awareness. There are different thought patterns that are beginning to infiltrate into the human form. And yes, even into your point of disclosure and what's taking place with your extraterrestrials, even that. So it's a combination of an overwhelming presence of energy. It is as if it's an overload to the system, and it is, in a way, an overload of information, an overload of energy, and an overload of the divine. It is this awareness point that's going to settle upon all humanity. So set aside what you see in your political arena, set aside what you're seeing geographically around the world, and look at it from a grand perspective. That this isn't just happening regionally or locally. This is happening across your planet. This is one of those moments in time that this awareness, this grand awareness, if you wish to look upon it, settles in. They said this has nothing to do with your ascension. This has nothing to do with the event wave. This is just one of those culminating points throughout humanity's existence that the next level of awareness is placed before you, and it will affect all of humanity. So I think 2025, again, is going to be this more revealing. And I asked, does this mean we're recognizing truth? Because there's a lot of truth stuff that's coming out. And they said, you can think about it as truth if you want, but one person's truth is another person's lie, because we all have different truths. Mm-hmm. So they said, but it's your own personal awareness that begins to settle in that is new. It's amplified. And it's something that you begin to see this existence that you're in differently. So I think this is a huge changing point.
Like we begin to realize
pivotal moment.
It's a hologram?
Awareness. We're just going to come into this grand awareness where things make sense, where we get it. It's like an aha.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Not about making sense where we understand who's lying to us or whatever.
No.
But like a clearing, like opening the curtain and seeing, oh, I get it. And that I get it will be different for each of us, I think.
Well, okay, because like when I hear somebody who's struggling and everything, and I feel for them, but I get the bigger picture.
Right.
So I have that awareness, but they're saying I will still have another awareness gifted to me.
I think we are all, it's like the fog clearing or cleaning our glasses or whatever it is.
I hope it leads to more harmony.
I think eventually, but I don't think it's going to be right away. I think 2025 is still going to be kind of volatile.
Oh my gosh. Well, a lot has to still break down to reform. And it's going to, I was about to say, it's going to seemingly unfairly, how about that? Seemingly unfairly affect various people, different places, all that kind of stuff.
True.
But again, we stepped into this whole thing knowing that, we were signing up for this experience.
Right.
There'd be wild cards thrown in. You never know.
Yeah.
But that there was a purpose moving forward here.
Yeah.
I think that is a broad stroke truth.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they mentioned in there was about the extraterrestrial stuff, and you brought it up earlier in the conversation on this podcast, was these disclosures, this aspect of disclosure. So whether you believe this is truth or not, all of these things are being disclosed. UAPs, orbs, drones, the information about life on Mars, that's huge right now. Rogan is looking into that. And then through government hearings, we're finding out a lot of the ways in which we have been deceived, or big pharma, big ag, all of these people have had kind of nefarious control over us, or putting chemicals in our food where they're banned in Europe. All of these things are coming out.
Yeah.
So whether you believe it, this isn't a political debate.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to have to understand what their own truth is, but things are being disclosed. Things are coming into our awareness, and it's going to be up to us to discern what is our truth. And I think that it's going to be easier. I think that's going to be easier is what they're saying.
I think it's going to be easier, but it's going to be difficult at first in this way that, and I'll use my bucket analogy, it's all going to be dumped out on the table. So it's going to be this pile that everyone's going to look at and go, oh, I don't want to dig through that. I don't want to, I mean, I know there's something in there that I need to know. I know there's some truth in there, but my God, it's too overwhelming. And so then they just nibble away at the edges and go, okay. And then they move on to, oh, what's the next
That's
TikTok
what they
video?
did with the drones.
Right.
But this idea, though, of disclosure of things that we haven't talked about in 60 to 100 years. For example, back when the first financial, what's it called? The financial organization.
Black Friday? No.
Black Friday.
I don't know Black Friday. What's it
Talking about
called?
The stock market crash?
Yeah, the stock
What are
No,
you
I'm talking about the organization that runs the financial system.
Oh, the central
is no longer
fund or-
was no longer based on gold and whatever.
Oh, right. Central
So
bank.
those types of things are coming out. JFK stuff, MLK stuff, all of these
That's a big one.
all of these things are going to be disclosed or thrown out there for public consumption now after decades or 100 years or so.
And it'll still be framed and reframed according to what
people-
your perception is and what group you feel that, who's your tribe.
Or who has the loudest voice to scream the perceived truth.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. So it's not my point to say what's true and what's not. My point is that it's all being thrown out on the table, like
Yeah.
you said. It's all going
Yeah.
to be out there for you guys to kind of look at and be overwhelmed by or not, or
And I think what for some, and I would like to say I want to put myself in this category, it'll give us an opportunity to actually do the proper research to inform ourselves of the truth.
if you wish.
Now, and I caveat truth by meaning my perception of that truth. Because two of us could sit across the table from one another, read the same thing, and you're going to read it completely different than I'm going to read it. And that's okay. But what we have to understand, there is a middle to that table, and we have to find a common ground of saying, hey, I don't necessarily believe it the way you believe it, but yet let's walk away from the table still friends or colleagues
you don't
or
have to.
Right.
Adults would, if you're going to be mature about it.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. A mature
be
agreement.
beneficial.
Right. A mature agreement to say, we don't agree, but we still have to coexist and we have to exist on this planet now that we've been given this information.
And the other thing I want to bring up about, I have these notes about what's happening in January and how crazy. We talked about the flu, which all of a sudden is back in vogue.
You almost made him spit.
I know. I almost,
Back in vogue.
The flu went away.
I completely disagree.
I had the flu, and you
2021.
know what?
So anyway, it's back with a vengeance, and everybody I know is sick. And
Yeah.
I just saw a news article today that I think it was in Texas somewhere. They closed 2 different school districts completely because
Oh, really?
60% of the
Wow.
Oh, that was in
teachers and
Texas,
students
Wow.
were sick, and they're like, we're just going to shut down for a bit. So I asked about that too, because this is the 3rd time that I have had this in probably 13 or 14 months.
Yeah.
Like the whole time during COVID, 2020, all the way up until, I think it was
23, wasn't it?
until the beginning of 2024. Yeah, the end of 2023. I didn't get sick at all. None, not even a cold. All of a sudden in 2024, I got it twice, and now I have it once in 2025.
It's not boding well for you.
So I asked last night when we channeled, I said, what's the deal? Is my immune system not as good as I thought it was or whatever? And they said, well, when you get older your immune system does need a little more support, but that's not the only thing. I said, thank you, because geez, are you saying I'm old?
Yes.
But anyway, they said that when COVID was introduced, this new virus, which was mutated by man, right? It wasn't a natural thing. All of these other viruses and bacterium and all of this stuff was already out in the atmosphere, and our bodies were used to it, and our bodies were immunized essentially through that process against all that stuff. When COVID came out, it not only changed our bodies in it interacting with our bodies, but in interacting with everything that was already out there, it's changing or mutating all the other flus and bacterias and viruses, things like that. So it's mutating those. So now there are different strains of this stuff out there, and our bodies are interacting with those and having to fight them off. And when we do, they said, it is a blessing. Our immune system's doing what it's supposed to, and then we are inoculated essentially against it. But that all of these new strains that have been mutated since 2020, we're going to have to deal with.
I'm just
I think
thinking
that's why everybody's sick.
how rapid change occurs, because 2 years ago, even a year ago, even last year, you would not have said the word COVID. You would have said the big C.
Well,
Right.
we haven't gotten, because we haven't gotten kicked off after I've been saying that. So
Now
I'm
watch.
taking my chances.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, it still shouldn't, like,
And I think
we
more
might get
people are
the,
talking about it.
yeah.
Well, and
You're safe because the herd's all moving that direction.
There was
I think they
Same
are.
there was
Yeah.
there was a lot of don't want to go down that road. There was a
No,
lot
probably not.
There was a lot of financial support that was thrown a certain way with all the
Yeah.
main tech people to allow a bit more freedom in our speech. So I think we're okay.
You guys have no idea how much we edit our thoughts
Yeah.
as we
Humanity
share this stuff.
does.
Yeah.
Well, humanity does.
Well, because yes, we are trying to have as free flow a conversation as possible. And the idea is to share this stuff without offending anyone, without getting reported or cut off or whatever. Because the thing is, you don't want to, you don't, what's the word I'm looking for? You don't want to upset the people that you are trying to give information to, in
You
a
don't wanna-
sense, because we want that free, open exchange and all that kind of stuff. And if we just threw out some stuff, it would be like, nope, that could possibly interfere with the more important message, I guess, is
Well,
what I'm
it's-
saying.
And if you get banned off YouTube, you're not helping people, right? So
Yeah.
there is a little bit of going through the
But-
system and self-censoring.
But and we're not doing this, or at least I guess I'll speak for myself. Yes, self-censoring. But I do that normally when I'm if I meet somebody new, I don't
Yes.
know where they're at. I don't know what path they're on. I don't know what their political beliefs are, their personal beliefs, their spiritual beliefs. I don't know anything about you. So when I'm
That's
having
about tailoring it to the audience.
so
Yeah,
right. So then the way I begin a conversation, I'm feeling the waters out and I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out what the boundaries are. And once I figure out what the boundaries are, then I know where the context of my language is going to be. It's not that I'm censoring because I'm afraid that I'm to espouse my belief in this or that. No, we're adults. We're going to have a conversation. And if the conversation goes that way, well, then we're going to have a conversation. But here on a bigger platform, you kind of take a broader.
It's not a back and forth.
Right. It's a broader brush that you take to understand that there are many people that are listening to this of varying beliefs, varying understandings, and we want to be able to cover all of that. And it's not our place to espouse our political belief, our even our full spiritual belief. I mean, we try our best to do that, but and we try to be as transparent as we can, but there's no need to go into the depths of this or that. It's to give a broader stroke of understanding of where we kind of fit in the big mix of things. So I hope that made sense.
I'm just thinking people are going, after you said that, they're going, wait, there's more you could be telling us and you're not? What?
I mean, yeah,
we're pretty open.
Yeah, we're pretty open. It's just bringing in topics thoughts about certain topics
Yeah,
that
I mean,
would just.
Our goal is not to be controversial.
No, no.
And-
there's plenty of people out there that already do that, and that's not our lane. So
No.
Yeah, we're trying to bring the greater spiritual perspective and the greater spiritual truths and the overarching themes therein
yeah,
to bring,
a broad audience to the table.
Right.
Yeah,
And so, yeah, there is a difference. I'm glad we're covering this because there is a difference between self-censorship, which sadly, what do they call it? The cancel culture
Yeah.
has caused people to self-censor their real truth about themselves. So you don't even have to try to censor them on purpose. They're censoring themselves, and that's not a good thing. We don't want that. We want more conversation, not less. But there's a difference between that and tailoring to the audience. And I don't mean just you guys, but I mean whoever
Your
you're talking
audience.
to. Like if I want to tell they say, what do you do in the spiritual realm or whatever? And I want to talk about the hypnosis work that I do or whatever. I'm going to tailor it different if I know I'm talking to a conservative Christian person or if I'm talking to an atheist or if I'm talking to somebody who's open to metaphysical stuff. You're just going to say what needs to be said, right? Based on the audience.
Yeah.
Because what's the point in alienating them? You want to try to help them to understand the greater truth about it from their perspective.
I'll only speak for myself, but I think everybody here at the table would agree. We're here to have conversations that bring everybody to the table. You know what I mean? It's not, we're not, we bring in family matters and we bring in other things, but it really is, because that's what we've been lacking for so long, is a conversation that is kind of in that neutral space that brings everybody to the table. It's social media has been built on the fact that you can get on a platform and scream your whatever it is you want to scream about, and you're going to bring a certain type of people to the table.
Yeah.
And it might not always be the best ones to bring to the table, so it isn't about that. It's about bringing everybody in and having a conversation and from the interactions we've had from everybody that has left comments or reached out to us personally, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for the support, because it that's the kind of conversations, that's the authenticity that we speak about when we have
And
these
it's
conversations.
been fun. We've enjoyed it. I think we're doing a pretty decent job at it. You think?
No, we're doing what we can. We're making a difference. I think.
I would go further.
So-
I have to behave myself.
So I think we've covered what I wanted to cover in terms
Did
of.
we?
What do you have more
Well-
crap that's coming down that came down in January? What else came down?
No, well, okay, so just to mention, so with disclosure, I pointed out, that Stephen Greer had been talking to, of all people,
Not Lou Elizondo.
who was it? No, Seth, was it Zethmeyer? No, the two.
Oh, Dana Carvey.
Yeah.
And who was with that?
Spade.
Yeah.
David Spade.
David Spade.
Yeah, and their thing is called Fly on the Wall or something
Oh,
like
is
that.
it?
Super Fly, but it's like being fly
That's-
on the wall.
A cool intersection between the three of them.
Yeah, and so I got my husband kind of interested in, this is, like he's had quite a journey with me and the whole galactic thing and all that kind of stuff. And so here he is really interested and poised and like, so he kept asking me, is disclosure happening? Is disclosure happening? Because Stephen Greer was saying, I got these guys, as much as we want the truth, you've got these people who have been subjugated to NDAs who they are tired of living a lie. They are tired of living a half truth and having to be careful what they say and being secretive and all this stuff. So they're wanting this release as much as we're wanting to know.
Yeah.
And supposedly it was going to happen before the swearing in of the president.
Right.
And someone said, there was one guy who was separate, and then somebody else said, well, Stephen Greer's saying, no, he's part of their group, but I don't know if he was separate or not. But
I think there's some infighting in all
Yes,
of
I
the
think
truth
so
or
too.
UFO movement right now.
Yep.
Okay.
That they need to hash out.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause
Okay,
I think there's some bad blood between Stephen Greer And I don't know if it's Lou Elizondo or somebody who's saying
Lou
Stephen,
Alexander's the guy you were saying. Okay.
Stephen Greer's full of crap or whatever. But I like Stephen Greer. I think he's on the up and up. And he's the one talking about the consciousness, not just these old stories about abduction
Right.
and the
Yeah.
bad
He's willing to
ETs
step forward and
Yeah.
put it on the line, which is
for
pretty
30
amazing.
years.
Yeah.
His story hasn't changed in 30 years.
No.
Yeah.
And
Well, so, so I guess Lou Elizondo was the one that came forward and showed the video of them picking up a UFO,
no,
I
that
guess.
that was in the most recent, and I forget what his name is now. They just did an interview with him, and I did watch the first. I think you watched like the first 45 minutes of it. And
Oh, that new whistleblower.
yeah,
guy.
the new
Yeah.
whistleblower.
It was on Newsmax.
Yeah, because people were kind of like, the upshot, I didn't see it, but I think the upshot was, it was nothing to totally make you go, whoa.
No, right.
And yet, like this one guy, this guy that I was watching, he was like, I have picked this apart. I'm from this, I'm an engineer, I'm from
Yep.
this industry. And everything that I'm seeing on here, this is how you would do the straps. This is how you
Sure.
would do this. This is the weight of this. And he's like, so none of this is made up. Like this is, I can
Right.
see, look at the video and say,
But-
yes, they did this correctly.
What was funny is like within 30 minutes of that video that hadn't been put out there before, and it's a like looking under night vision of
I haven't seen
this
that,
egg being lifted and moved and whatever, this big egg craft being lifted and moved slung underneath a helicopter. There were, I can't tell you how many videos of people like with this string and an actual egg. And like all this stuff. And I'm like, see, this is the problem. But, you know,
Well, we memify everything.
Right. So then we're not necessarily discrediting it. You know, people aren't necessarily trying to discredit it. They're just making light of it because it does look a little hokey when you first watch it. But I kind of felt the same way. I watched it. I'm like, I don't know.
It's not definitive.
Right. It's not definitive. Right. It's not
Yeah.
hard evidence for me to say, yep, that's a Mork and Mindy, egg craft that Mork came in on, right? It's like that's what I came to mind when I was doing that. But I bring that up to say that when I was listening to his interview, what struck me was it wasn't about the egg when he had the crash retrieval of the egg. It was this other craft that he went to retrieve, and he said as I was arriving on scene, something was taking over, like emotionally
Yes.
in my consciousness was taking over my body. And I started getting emotional. And as soon as it got up, it was slung underneath me, underneath the helicopter that I was flying. It was like I connected to it. Like my conscious connected to it. And I'm forever changed because of it.
Yep.
That right there was like, yes, you are
Right.
absolutely correct. And I bring that up because I just listened a bit, almost all the way through it, but one of the most recent Rogan interviews, and it's episode 2264 on Rogan. He has two gentlemen that were in the program. They call it the program.
Oh, right.
Anyway, this one gentleman, they were Nellis Air Force Range out in Nevada, I guess it was, and they were at the top of a hill where they do this training. Anyway, they were down at the schoolhouse, I believe, and one of the female, I guess maybe sergeants or female military people there was be careful of the guy on the hill. He's scary, and he's like, whatever. And they go to drive to the top of this hill and to do this range exercise or whatever it was. And I sorry if I'm getting it kind of jumbled here, and it was cold. It was a frigid day, and he saw somebody in a military uniform that he's looking at him. And he said, "Oh, he's hypothermic because he's got like a bluish tint to his skin."
Oh, yeah. I remember hearing that.
Yeah, and so they get out on scene. He goes up to him, and then somebody hollers out, "He doesn't have any ears!" And so they show a picture of him, and they show a picture of his craft, a rendering of it and stuff. And he tells this story, and here too, there's a link between that and the consciousness. And that we've talked about this before about disclosure. Disclosure isn't going to be this huge craft that darkens the sky and, shows up for everyone to witness. It's going to come through the form of our consciousness. And that's what Greer's point is with the CE5 and connecting our consciousness to what is already there. So it becomes witness to our, whether it's our
Personally
through our vision or through our cameras and whatever.
Wasn't that movie Walking with the Tall Whites that we watched?
Yeah.
That was about the same kind of thing,
Yep.
where there was an alien ET,
Yeah.
whatever, out on a military base, and
Yep.
a lot of people saw it. So this is not, I'm sure our audience knows this is not new,
Right.
and this is not crazy. It happens to a lot of military
Well,
people.
and what I wish I could put out there is, he can show that video and everybody can be like, ugh,
Yeah.
but having what I thought was one for sure, having seen that, like
Right.
when it's right in front, not off in the distance, and you're going, ooh,
Right there.
wow, when it's right in front of you, you can't. It changes fundamental truth in you.
Yeah.
It just does, and then. Did it possess me? Like not, like did
Right,
it
right,
connect
right,
with me?
sure.
No, I connected with it because my son had encouraged me to. But then it all makes so much sense. Like it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I understand this now. And could you answer this question? Okay, this makes it like it's just. I don't know. And so for that poor guy, I'm sure here he is
Yep.
wanting to say this truth, and he's feeling it and knows what it's like in that moment. But these people watching this, they want truth. They want to know. They're really into it, but they don't have a framework within which to
Good
bring
point.
it into them. So I don't think that disclosure is ever going to be, not ever, but for the long term, is not going to be satisfying like
Right,
many people
right.
want it to be
Yeah.
until they have the personal experience.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know if I brought this up during one of our previous episodes, but what comes to mind is the very last scene of Elf, where the
Oh, yeah,
the
the
sleigh
belief.
the sleigh can't get off the ground because the belief meter is empty.
Oh, I love
And-
the belief meter.
Right, and everybody has to believe in order for the sleigh to get off the ground. In some terms, that's what disclosure really is the more people begin to believe that this is actually a truth, that this actually exists, it begins to put out a force field, an amplifying consciousness field to let our brethren know it's time. They're ready. Let's show ourselves to them and
makes sense.
come back and show them the technology that's at hand.
Well, that's funny. I had no idea we were going to spend the last 10 minutes talking about ETs and UFOs, but
And
hey,
yet here we are.
Yeah,
One of my
well,
favorite topics.
It needed to be addressed because I think a lot of people were looking for some big something, and it didn't happen.
kinda fizzled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was unfortunate, especially like I look at it from my husband's point of view. He really wanted something to believe.
Yeah.
right.
And he was just like, so have you heard anything? And it's
Right.
like, I heard this one guy did something on Newsmax. And what does that do to Stephen Greer's credibility?
Right.
That's damaging. And, just for anyone who's researching this stuff, there is that other, I'm trying to remember the name. I've been trying to come up with the name of his stuff. He's been doing documentaries now for like 20, 30 years.
Oh, the black guy?
Nope.
No, is it the one that did the Virginia
He
episode or show?
He has been going to the actual not conventions, but the where you get all these people who've seen stuff in the military,
Oh.
and they all come together for a summit. So he's been covering the summits, and I'm trying to. I'll see if I can get one of the links to.
Okay.
He's got numerous ones on Netflix. So he's been following this for like 20 years. And you listen to, like, he's got one that we watched from 2014. And there's footage this guy's showing from, they had to bust their asses to get this guy who was an Iranian pilot out of Iran to Great Britain in order to have him testify. But, there's someone who's from Belgium. There's someone like these guys are from all different things, and they are showing video we've never seen. Like I've never
Wow.
seen any of
Wow.
this stuff. And you're kind of going, whoa. So his stuff is really interesting. And you're just like, wow, this guy has for 20 years and no one has really heard
Nobody
of him.
did. Isn't that weird?
Wow.
And yet now, hopefully his persistence, he's going to, because it reminds me of your friend, the Mars.
Corey Dobbs.
Yeah, it reminds me of him, like how he's been kind of falling into this journey that he's on.
Oh, yeah.
And so here's this guy he's been doing this for a long time, and it's like, hopefully it's going to pay off for him because he's got all of this evidence.
Right.
And when you see it, you just go, and they're all military people, so you're kind of going, whoa, what the hell?
Yeah. And I think that but it does play into the whole aspect of, January coming in hot. It is that whole aspect of everything being kind of dumped on the table. Mm-hmm. It's now, what do we do with that? How big of a shovel do I need to start digging through this pile? And where is it that I'm really going to put my trust in this truth? Am I going to just blindly trust everything that's there? Or am I going to allow my discernment to kind of parse it apart and compartmentalize certain things until I'm ready to really understand it? And I think that's really the best way to go about it, is dig through the pile, separate stuff out, put stuff off to the side because you're not ready to really understand it at that moment because your discernment isn't quite there yet. But in time, it will be. And then you just unlock that portion of it and go back to it and learn.
Yeah, so don't hide your head in the sand and act like nothing's happening, because there's so much information. And I think part of the tactic is to throw so much at us, have so much come at us that we are overwhelmed and we're saturated.
Good point.
And I think that is fully intentional. But it doesn't, but at least it got the information out there. So and some people will pick up the ball and run with it and say, wait, this was disclosed, 3 months ago. Let's readdress this. So it's, I think the memes kind of cause people to scoff at things and it makes them comfortable in their belief system.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they're making a joke of it. And that's what I thought, that it was a joke.
The point is there's somebody for everybody.
Right.
So those people that want to be naysayers are going to find their little tribe that have the memes that are sarcastic and whatever.
Yeah.
And the people that are truly open will find those people that they resonate with, that makes sense to them.
If they're going to disclose stuff, can I put in a request for a disclosure of the Valiant Thor conversations with Eisenhower? Come on now.
There's also, somebody said there's something called the Eisenhower Accords that I need to look into, because we know that Eisenhower was in contact with Valiant Thor and others.
From the Venusian race, yeah.
But somebody, and it might have been a comment
Maybe
on.
you need to channel Eisenhower.
We didn't.
Well, we've channeled for Laura Eisenhower, and some of that came up in her channeling.
Yeah, kind of all the connection
But
points.
we could try to call in Eisenhower himself.
Yeah, that would just be really interesting to see if, and maybe that we're still not, it's not his place to tell us, but boy, wouldn't that be interesting?
It would be, right? Y'all want us to do that? Put it in the comments.
Oh my God. Here we go.
At any rate, this was fun. I'm glad we ended on UFOs and UAPs. That was a blast. Let us know what you think in the comments, and hit the thumbs up for us, and share, and hit the notification bell and all that stuff. And I hope your February goes, if you had a cruddy January, I hope February is already shaping up to be better.
Yep.
And if you had a fabulous January,
Then I hope it continues in February.
Right.
I just wanted to hear the other
We
side of
wish the best for everybody.
That's right.
Until next time, we'll see you later.
See y'all.
that. Bye.